transaction costs in your back test, many meaningful strategy will be apparently profitable, but they won't be in real life because you have to pay the spread. Whereas momentum strategy does not suffer from that. So it's actually a bit harder to find momentum strategy than meaningful strategy, but that's not the reason that you should trade more meaningful strategies.
Interesting. So with machine learning, opposed to trying to predict price, you could predict sales, company earnings, market cap predictions, all that good stuff. In your opinion, what would be the best way out of those couple of examples to apply machine learning and why?
Now, that is a very good point. We earlier said that machine learning had a very difficult time in generating alpha because of the low signal to noise ratio. And the reason for that low signal to noise ratio in turn is because of the possibility of arbitrage. If the machine learning program can predict, Google always go up when it has good earnings. Well, everybody, not only your machine learning program, but maybe 1 million other ones, and also human traders would observe the same, and that phenomenon will go away gradually. Maybe not instantaneous, but after a few months, a few years, it will go away because more and more people will recognize that. It is not possible that a strong signal will be only noticed by you. It's not possible. The only way that machine learning can be useful is if it can detect some subtle pattern that no one else can detect. But how would you know that that subtle pattern is not noise? It's quite difficult, right? A weak signal could be because it is noise, or it could be because no one else has discovered it and you are the smartest and the greatest machine learning program to detect it. It's hard to differentiate the two, quite frankly. Because of the arbitrage, this is the only kind of signal that your machine learning program can find. On the other hand, if you are using machine learning to predict quantities that cannot be arbitraged away, for example, as you suggested, predicting earnings, predicting cash flow, predicting any sort of financial statement quantities, or predicting whether the Fed is going to increase interest rate, or predicting whether the non-farm payroll number will surprise or not. Well, those quantities cannot be arbitraged away. The U.S. Labor Department is not going to change their non-farm payroll number just because somebody else was able to predict it, right? Those quantities are not subject to arbitrage. And so machine learning has a much easier time predicting them with a lot of accuracy. But the problem is, okay, so what if you can predict them precisely? I mean, you can't predict them with 100% accuracy anyway, but maybe 60%, maybe 70% accuracy. But even with that level of accuracy, can it be translated into a trade? That is an open question, because it may be that you can predict non-farm payroll quite accurately, but the reaction of other traders to that non-farm payroll numbers is much more unpredictable. And also, just because you can predict it with 70% accuracy, maybe a lot of economists can also predict it with 70% accuracy. And, so maybe you can predict it with maybe 5% more accuracy than the consensus. So what? Is that 5% accuracy increase enough to generate arbitrage profit? Not necessarily. So, that's the dilemma in applying machine learning, is that the quantities that you can predict with high accuracy does not necessarily translate to good returns.
Wow, Ernest, this has really got me thinking. What for a new researcher that wants to approach machine learning for trading in the methodology you're using, where we're selecting our strategies and instead of trying to predict price, what are some good models that a new researcher should look at? LSTMs, neural networks, or what models should we be looking at?
I generally speaking, my use of machine learning typically is more indirect. So I'm not going to suggest a particular network architecture. You should use a transformer-based neural network, or no, you should use gradient boosted decision tree. I have some opinion, but those opinions are with regard to what machine learning model, what machine learning algorithm should be used for certain data, not for the objective of predicting prices. What I feel that one should learn from predicting prices is actually much more classical. From all the profitable strategies that I've seen myself, they typically, again, have a causal component, or it derives from some fundamental observation of a market.